Max Verstappen, the four-time world champion, the driver who once made Formula One feel like his personal playground, suddenly finds himself staring at a title that is slipping away faster than anyone expected. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. What if this title wasn't lost in Mexico or Brazil or during any of the recent rounds? What if the championship was actually lost before the season even began? What if everything we're witnessing now, Max's frustration, his late season surge and Red Bull's desperation, is the result of a season that was doomed right from the first laps of the opening rounds? These questions became unavoidable the moment Max Verstappen admitted something shocking. "We didn't lose the championship here. We lost it from race 1 until Zandvoort." That wasn't a media spin. That wasn't deflection. That was Max himself finally acknowledging the truth. The damage wasn't recent. It was foundational. The season collapsed in the early races, long before fans began whispering that something felt off. Welcome back to the channel where we go deeper than the headlines and dig into the real stories behind Formula One. Today we ask the biggest question of the season: Max Verstappen. Did he lose the title from the start? Before we dive into the core of the story, hit like now and drop your thoughts in the comments using just 4 or 5 words: Max or McLaren. Your take might just appear in a future video. Now let's talk numbers, because numbers don't lie. As of today, Max Verstappen is 49 points behind Lando Norris with only 3 races remaining. On paper, it's not impossible, but in Formula One, a gap like that is deadly. But here's the real story. This deficit didn't build up in the last few races. It traces back to the early season where McLaren unleashed a level of dominance few expected. They won 12 of the first 15 races, while Red Bull struggled with pace, setups, tyre degradation, and car consistency. Max didn't suffer 1 or 2 bad weekends. He suffered a pattern of weak performances caused by a package that simply wasn't good enough. At one point, after the Dutch Grand Prix, Max wasn't just behind, he was buried. Oscar Piastri led the standings with 309 points, Norris had 275, and Verstappen sat at just 205. That is a 104-point deficit. That isn't a gap, that is a canyon. A canyon that no driver, not even Max Verstappen, can climb in just a few months. Look at races like Hungary, where Max finished 9th and scored just 2 points. Meanwhile, McLaren extended their lead. The pattern was clear. The early season damage was severe. Momentum was not on Red Bull's side. And for anyone who still believed Verstappen could turn it around, the numbers painted a very different story. Honestly, this is like showing up to the gym after 6 months away, trying to bench 200 kilos and wondering why your arms are vibrating like a Nokia phone from 2004. But this isn't the end of the story, because what happens next is where things get dramatic. After Zandvoort, something inside Max snapped. The calm, controlled, emotionless version of Verstappen disappeared. In his place, a version emerged that reminded the world why he's considered one of the most dangerous drivers ever to sit in an F1 car. For 5 consecutive weekends, Max delivered one of the most impressive mid-season comebacks in years. He scored 119 out of a possible 133 points, slicing through traffic, dominating races, and driving like a man possessed. Suddenly, hope returned. The paddock felt it, McLaren felt it, fans felt it. For a moment, it looked like the championship fight was back on one race, in particular turned heads, the US Grand Prix. Verstappen dominated from pole position, controlled the pace, and made McLaren look ordinary. Analysts were convinced this was the turning point. But this is the cruel reality of Formula One. A comeback can create illusions. It can make you think momentum has shifted, even when the underlying structure hasn't changed. And while Max was pulling off miracles on track, McLaren continued scoring heavy points. They didn't collapse, they didn't crumble, they didn't hand Verstappen a lifeline. Instead, Norris delivered back-to-back wins in Mexico and Brazil, shutting down Red Bull's momentum and keeping Verstappen buried in the standings. It's like sprinting at full speed thinking you're catching someone, only to realize they're riding a bicycle. Every time Max closed the gap slightly, McLaren extended it again. Every time Red Bull found performance, McLaren responded with something better. This wasn't just a driver battle. This was a development war, and Red Bull came late to the fight. Now, let's be honest, pressure is nothing new to Verstappen. He thrives under it. He becomes faster, sharper, more aggressive, but it doesn't matter how good you are if your machinery isn't there to support you. The early season Red Bull had clear weaknesses: tyre wear issues, unpredictable setup windows, slower adaptation to track characteristics, and inconsistent one-lap pace. You cannot fight for a championship when your foundation is shaky. And as Verstappen mounted his incredible comeback, McLaren found yet another gear Norris's wins in Mexico, and Brazil delivered a knockout blow, pushing the gap to 49 points with only 3 races remaining. And here's the truth nobody likes to say out loud: the math isn't emotional. It doesn't care about comebacks. It doesn't care about redemption arcs. It doesn't care about how badly you want the result. The calculator says the title is slipping away. Before we dive into the final chapter of this story, smash like now. And don't forget to subscribe. Do it, legend. Now here comes the verdict. The truth everyone wants to know. Did Max Verstappen actually lose this championship from the start? The answer? Yes. Based on the data? Yes. Based on his own words? Yes. Based on how the season unfolded? Absolutely. Yes. Max didn't lose this title in Brazil. He didn't lose it in Mexico. He didn't lose it during a late season weekend. He lost it in March, April, May, and June, when Red Bull failed to provide him the machinery needed to compete. This season didn't fall apart in a moment. It collapsed gradually, painfully, and quietly. The emotional hit is brutal, because Max did not give up, he didn't crumble, he didn't hide behind excuses. He admitted the truth, he fought back harder than any driver on the grid. His performances in the middle and late stages of the season were heroic. They reminded everyone why he is one of the greatest talents the sport has ever seen. But sometimes the greatest fighters lose not because they are weak, but because they start too far behind. This season will be remembered not just as McLaren's resurgence, not just as Max's heartbreaking loss, but as the season where Formula One shifted into a new era. The balance of power has changed. Red Bull is no longer the dominant force. McLaren is no longer the underdog. The sport is becoming unpredictable again. And here's the final twist. Adrian Newey is gone. Red Bull's internal stability is shaken. McLaren is rising fast. Ferrari is lurking. Mercedes is rebuilding. The future is no longer guaranteed for Max Verstappen. This isn't a Netflix script. This is real, and honestly, it's better than Netflix. So now the final cliffhanger. Will Max return next year stronger than ever? Will Red Bull bounce back? Will McLaren continue this era of dominance? Or has the shift already begun? Time will tell. Hit like now. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, go watch the next video on the channel where we expose McLaren's secret advantage that changed this season completely. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.